Folks, I don't know if you have looked at consumer sentiment lately, but to say it is ugly, depressing, frustrating would be an understatement. In fact, I've read some articles over the last 48 hours talking about the consumer sentiment being at potentially great depression levels. Now, I find this very odd, right? Obviously, I've studied the Great Depression. It was a topic reviewed in my econ classes. I've studied it since then. And to think that the 2025, soon to be 2026 economy is at anything like the Great Depression levels is insane. We have sub 5% unemployment. We have record profits in the stock market. We're, I don't know, within 5% of an all-time high. We have GDP that looks to be 3%. It doesn't match the game on the field. So I have been asking myself for the last couple of weeks, why is consumer sentiment so weak? Consumer sentiment to me has always been a forward-looking indicator. It has been one of those reports where if I'm looking at the data points, you can kind of see around the corner. But if we're honest with ourselves, which I know is hard today, right? Everything is politicized. Everything is rage bait. I can't see a Great Depression in the data. It's just not there. In fact, delinquencies on real estate are down, even though the Jerry Springers of housing want you to think a foreclosure crisis is coming. Again, delinquencies are down. Purchase applications are at a year high. We've got, unemployment below 5. We just got a JOLTS report today, which we'll get into in a minute. It's much better than expected. So I just don't get it. So the only thing that I can think of, because this is an important thing, right? When you study economics for 30 years, you kind of have your reports and your tea leaves like, hey, I look at this tells me that, these. That's the beauty of economics, is you can start to tie together your set of dominoes to paint a picture. And if your picture is good, it will give you a fair forecast and you can make moves early. That's what I do. That's why I make predictions. That's why I celebrate when I'm right and I celebrate when I'm wrong, because this economy is a puzzle and it is fun for me to work on. But I have to tell you, consumer sentiment sitting at or near Great Depression levels in an environment like we are today is signal something is off. Now, it is certainly possible that the underlying economy is falling apart right before our eyes and no one sees it. I don't think that's likely, but in a world of crazy, anything is possible. I am really starting to think that social media, the big 5, Instagram, Facebook, Google, Twitter, whatever your Snapchat, whatever your thing is, Reddit, whatever it is. I'm starting to think that we have echo chambers and the algorithms are just giving us rage bait. What happens? You're frustrated by housing? Let me give you housing calls of 50% crash, even though there's no way they crash 50% in 2026. But hey, let me give you some Jerry Springer analyst who says it's going to happen because you want to see it. So you click on it, you watch it. And that gives you more Jerry Springer analysts that tell you a crash is coming, blah, blah, blah. You don't like how the economy's going? Let me give you some rage bait. And the reason that's important is that rage bait, that echo chamber, that disconnected reality will go into the surveys. That's why people thought that Black Friday would be disappointing, because that's what the survey said. And then we show up and it does like 9% better. I'm seriously thinking that social media is just rotting our brains. It's just rotting our brains. We are We are consuming poison that we don't even know. Folks, here's a test for you. When you go on social media today, do you get angry? Do you get upset? If you do, you got to take extreme ownership. You did that. The algorithm is just a sick and disgusting formula that says, hey, you watch this, let me give you more. So please stop watching content that makes you mad. Watch stuff that makes you smile. Watch stuff that gives you inspiration. Watch stuff that makes you better. Social media can make you better, but you, the operator of the phone, the input mechanism for the formula, the algorithm, you need to own that. So that's your homework for today. Ask yourself seriously, when you're on your device, are you getting mad? If you are, step away. It is rotting your brain. As I mentioned in the Sunday kind of initiation of the week, we got a small business survey that was very critical, very important. We've learned that the small business area is taking on the chin. They had lost 120,000 jobs in the last month. Small business is the backbone of the U.S. economy. So what happened in the NFIB AEIE small business survey? Well, folks, it beat expectations. It was expected to come in at 98.2. It came in at 99. More importantly, because these numbers mean nothing to you without context or compared to what, the 52-year average for this survey is 98. So we are above the 52-year average. Underneath the survey, a couple of interesting points. Quality of labor is the number one issue. Inflation is second. And taxes are third. Hiring plans, good news for the economy. Hiring plans jumped and CapEx plans reduced or shrank. ADP report is putting out more jobs data now thanks to the government shutdown. They've created more reports. They now have the November private payroll moving average, 4-week moving average at 4,750 jobs a week for the month of November. Folks, we got the JOLTS report today. Again, it's a month old. Take it with a grain of salt, but at least we're starting to get the data. It was expected to come in at 7.1. It came in at 7.6. That is 500,000 more job openings than were expected. Could this be because of seasonality? Probably. But still, seasonality was there for the experts, and the experts thought we'd come in at 7.1. We came in at 7.6. Note, the last report we got was also 7.1. Let's not forget that we do have a shortage of skilled manufacturing labor. According to a couple of surveys, we are short an estimated 400,000 skilled manufacturing workers. Not to be outdone, Ford Motor Company says they can't find mechanics, 5,000 mechanics for jobs that pay $120,000. Pretty crazy. I do want to highlight that nobody joined school in the last 24 hours. That is greatly disappointing. We do have a Sunday session coming up with a short-term rental operator and expert in Bigger Pockets fame, Rob Abasola. He's also speaking at our Vegas event. We just gave you the Get Your Money Right course, also 9 accountability groups, other education. So again, get in there. There's 510 amazing people going the same direction. So join the community, introduce yourself, get better. Get better as you end 2026. You know you want to make financial moves in 2026, get better in 25. I got that date wrong, sorry. So again, get in there, join school. The link's right there on the screen, and I will see you in there. We also got a CFO survey, which is interesting. CFOs, if you don't know, generally speaking, are bearish. They're very kind of nervous Nellies. That would be my, having worked with CFOs for the last 20 years of my career directly. They're typically nervous Nelly. They're always looking around the corner for the boogeyman. According to this CFO survey, no recession or bear market in 2026. They expect 2 rate cuts in the first half. 73%, 73 are optimistic on the economic outlook. I do find it odd that 73% of CFOs think the economy is doing okay, but if you go on all these social media apps, it feels like everybody says it's the Great Depression. See, this is just something's broken. Something is broken. And then the last thing I thought was interesting in the report is 62% think that Scott Bessent is doing a great job as Treasury Secretary. Don't know if you know this, but we just got up to 1.2 million job cuts in 2025. Again, this is to be expected. Again, I know a lot of people look at these numbers and go, oh my God. But just remember, we were in a no-fire environment for 2 years. Companies were holding on to people because they were scared. This is just the give back. This is why bankruptcies are spiking, because we had 2 years where bankruptcies didn't happen. This is why foreclosures are up 20%, because we had 2 years where nothing happened. This is just all the give back for those 2 years of nonsense. We do have the Fed decision tomorrow. It will likely be a hawkish cut. What the heck does that mean? Well, in reality, it probably means the same thing it's always meant. We're going to get a rate cut. Powell's going to talk tough, and mortgage rates go up. That's what's happened the last 5 times. The last 5 times the Fed cut, maybe it's 4 times. The Fed cut, mortgage rates went up. I see no reason that won't happen again. We did get a prediction from Zillow that I thought was interesting. I always like to compare myself to the experts. Zillow says that mortgage rates will not fall below 6% in 2026. I disagree. I think we'll touch 5.9, maybe 5.85. So not a lot, but certainly below 6. Zillow predicts that prices will go up 1.2%. That's kind of like my number of 1%, so we'll call that even. They expect transactions to go up to 4.26. That's an increase of 4%. I'm at 7%, so I'll take the over. They expect construction of new units to fall 2%. And finally, single-family rents to be up 2.3%. Talk about delinquencies, because again, I know the housing doomers try to scare you with mortgage delinquencies, where in reality, if you look at 2000 to 2005, the average mortgage delinquency was 4.45%. Yes, in an environment of a raging bull market, we had 4.45% delinquencies. Today, 3.34 and falling. Yes, folks, I know the doomers and Jerry Springers want you to think that this crisis is exploding, but it's actually just not true. And then finally, I don't know if you saw it, but the national average for gas is under $3. I do not remember the last time I saw that. So that's been quite a while. All righty, folks. Again, remember, if you are a landlord, Steadily is here for you. And I got good news. Looks like they're saving me $1,000. Got a house quote from Foremost. I was at Farmers. Farmers kicked me to Foremost. Foremost nearly doubled my insurance and went to Steadily. And it looks like they're going to save me just over $1,000. So again, shout out Steadily. It doesn't always work that way. We've gone to them plenty of times and it just didn't work out. But hey, you never know. It takes like 5 minutes to put in the details. And sometimes they save you big money. There's a link in the description below. Go in there. Let them know you came from ORaaT. And see if they can help you. Maybe they can. Maybe they can't. And again, go to school. Let's join ORaaT. I don't like it when no one joins in 24 hours. It always puts me a smile on my face when someone joins. So if you want to see me smile today, join school. We'll see you in there. Have fun. We'll be back tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Wednesday? Back tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Take care. Have a great day. Peace.